Good morning and welcome to day 17 of my 2023 Tour Divide race coverage. Let's have a little look at the tracker map and see what's been going on. And we've got a fairly consistent line of finishers now. So since yesterday, Steve Halligan was in the final straight there, so he's now finished along with Peter Craft, Chris Burkhardt, Justin Smith, Cyrus Demarais, Dirty Dan, that's Dan Connell, and Martin van Haverbeck. So Dan and Martin, I think, basically finished together. And then it looks like Indiana Schultz, he's pretty much in the finish straight now. 3 miles to go, so potentially by the end of this little update he would have finished. Lael Wilcox, looks like she's going to win the women's race, and she will be just outside the top 10 overall. But as we know, she's had a few problems over the last few days. But the fact she's got there is testament to her grit and determination. So she should be finishing in a couple of hours' time. 30 miles to go. So yeah, probably 2-3 hours, I would have thought. So it is currently 1 a.m. local time. So she should probably finish before sunrise, I would have thought. Further back, Katja is in a solid second place now. She was starting to close down, but it looks like the race is caught up with her a little bit, and Lael has managed just to sort of eat that gap out again. Looks like she's spending her last night in Silver City, so a little bit of comfort before that final push through the desert to the border at Antelope Wells. And then I guess the big news is our race for the women's podium, that final spot, and it's been getting exciting the last few days. And as you can see, Sasha Dow, she's been in third for a long time now, but she's really she's only 15 miles ahead of this big group. So Gail Brown, we've been talking about, had an absolute flyer the last few days, and now she's caught Hannah Simon and Alexandra Houchin, and they're all in Pie Town. I'd imagine, looking by the dots, it looks like they're probably in the Toaster House. So yeah, that's going to be the really great race to watch tomorrow. Gail's made some big inroads on the road section. She grew up around me here in England, in the east of England, and it's very flat and very windy. And as you'll hear in a second, I've got a little message from her, and yeah, she was saying that really played into her hands on those long flat pedal sections. So I'll tell you what, we'll just say thank you to Holyfat while we're here for supporting this little endeavour of mine. So yeah, give them some love and some support. All the links are below, if that's the kind of thing you're interested in. And then we'll go and hear from Gail and see what she's had to say about the last few days pedalling when she's closed this massive gap.
It seems that my specialty is pedaling on tarmac on my mountain bike into a really decent headwind. That's where my talents lie. But it is hot out there. Oh my god! And yesterday I got totally frazzled climbing up. I forgot the name of it now, but it's like a big kind of like rooty, sandy, slabby climb, and I was like properly in the afternoon sun, and oh my gosh, that was not great. So I'm trying to not repeat that today. So I've kind of pushed on this morning. I'm taking a bit of a break in the cool service station, eating fresh pineapple and enjoying life, and then I'll poot up to Pie Town and just try not to get too cooked. But yeah, like, it's so motivating having so many awesome women around. Like knowing that I've got people hot on my heels and people to chase. It's super fun, and yeah, like that's all you can hope for in a race, isn't it?
So that's Gail, and obviously interesting there, like just saying how motivating it is to know that she's got other women to chase, because quite frankly, in these events it's normally fairly male dominated. So the women end up either racing against guys, or the women's field is quite dispersed, so they don't necessarily sort of see each other to race sort of head to head. So I imagine it's quite exciting for these women here to know they've got a race on their hands, and for a third spot in Tour Divide, which is it's a pretty big result if you can get it. So they're all going to be very motivated. So Hannah, Alexandra and Gail all in Pie Town, and Sasha just a little bit ahead. Let's just remind ourselves of that on the Ryby GPS map for a little bit more detail. So Pie Town here, So they're going to head into the Gila. You can see just the kind of dot on the elevation there. So bit of tarmac, and then we're kind of off-road through the Gila. It's a little bit more undulating after what they've had, short, steep, sharp climbs. That could be a real test, especially after those long flat roads. And then the long downhill into Silver City before the familiar drag to the finish now. So if Gail's been riding strong on the flats, then she should be looking forward to this bit, because it sounds like there's been a lot of headwind over the last few days on that section. So that's all very exciting, and that's one to keep an eye on for tomorrow. So let's head over to some Instagram stories. So Katja's always good for an Instagram story. She gave us a nice little update. Looks like she's starting to suffer a bit in the heat.
This last section is such a slap in the face. I definitely picked the wrong time to do it. It's so hot. It's like 100 degrees and I'm carrying so much water. I'm currently under a tree, taking some rest. Hopefully the heat will start coming down soon. I think it's around 2 p.m. now. Yeah, I'll make it, but it is not fast going.
So yeah, it looks like she's really suffering with the heat there. And unfortunately, there's not really anywhere to hide when you're in that part of the world, in the desert. So once you're at the Gila, you pretty much don't see any trees at all. So out of Silver City, you don't see any trees. So if you're going through the heat of the day, it is just full exposure to the sun and the heat. So yeah, it looks like she's suffering a little bit, but in Silver City now, so she should be finishing tomorrow in second place, which is going to be awesome. So some stuff just catching up from yesterday before these guys finished. Dan Connell, they say you can cycle your own urine up to 3 times before it becomes toxic. I mean, that looks pretty toxic already if it is urine. I suspect it probably isn't. But yeah, if you've got yourself in that much of a state between Silver City and Hachita, then you've definitely done something wrong. So I think I'd take that with a little pinch of salt. But yeah, he ended up coming in with Martin. Looks like they rode the last couple of days together, which is kind of cool. So yeah, and there's Martin as well. So 2 of them riding in. Looks like a bit of a headwind. But yeah, you can see the kind of roads, kind of pretty fast rolling dirt roads. 42 degrees. Let's see if we can hear the wind. Doesn't that actually sound too windy at the moment? But yeah, making good time along there. And then this is where you I guess enter the finishing straight. So you cross the main highway, ride alongside it, and then take a right hand turn, and then it's just a long straight road to the border. But it is pretty spectacular. I mean, look at that. Look at that for a sunset. So that'd be Dan. And yeah, that's those guys almost finishing, which is a pretty special feeling. Right, also finishing. So Bikes of Death, if you've not listened to them, they've got a really good podcast, and they're at the finish, so I'm sure there'll be some really cool interviews out over the next couple of days with some of the riders who are finishing. So he caught, I think it's Patrick who runs it, caught Chris Burkhardt at the finish there. So that's at the fence, that's the border. So yeah, there's Chris just rolling down. Sounds like he's had a bit of a time of things. We'll go into his Instagram shortly to find out. Stephen Herrick, he's also finished this. Where is that? That is that's probably the little shop at Hachita. There's not much out there, so it's quite easy to decipher. So yeah, so that's Chris rolling in. Now he's got a bit of a story about his last few hours. It's never simple. The Tour Divide is never simple. Even right to the finish when you're 5 or 6 hours out. But it sounds like his Garmin packed up, and then he ran out of phone battery and got lost. So let's have a little listen and see what he says.
Here we are, the final day, day 15, which ends tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I have 130 miles left to do. My goal was always 15 days to ride from Canada to Mexico. And to be honest, it got really easy to get caught up in the placement, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, whatever. And I just had to remind myself that wasn't the goal. The goal was to finish in 15 days. Because I think it's an elite time, and I think it's a challenging time. 14 would have been epic and possible, but not with the mud. So I can see Mexico in front of me. Now I just have to get there in under 11 hours.
So yeah, the final run-in. Here we go. Here's the story about his Garmin. So his Garmin fell off. So he's lost it. Relying on his phone battery died, and then basically just got lost. Resulted in 2 to 3 hours of bushwhacking trying to find the highway. Sounds like he's all right, but yeah, that's going to take some time, and it's just stress you don't need at the end of a race. And he's looking pretty beat after all of that.
Sunrise.
There we go. More sunrise in the desert.
15th day.
It's pretty cool to see that, and yeah, that's the Tour Divide, and that's one of the rewards is seeing that sunset or that sunrise if you time it right. So final thing from me, Hannah Simon. We've talked about her. She's currently in Pytown with that group of fantastic women. She's got a little fundraiser on her Instagram. She's raising money for Out Youth. So yeah, she's basically trying to earn $1 for every mile she pedals. So that's 2,745 miles of the Tour Divide, plus she rode 500 miles there. So over $3,000. So if you're interested in donating to charity, maybe check out her Instagram and see if you can help someone out. So that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow we should have a women's winner, and I'm going to really focus on that women's race now because it's really quite fascinating. So thanks for watching. Obviously, just give us a like and subscribe if you don't want to miss out any more and future races. The next one will be the Transcontinental race, and I'll see you tomorrow, and hopefully we'll have a women's winner.